Greetings and salutations, welcome to another What If episode, and today it regards Manchester City. Now, I tried to think of a funny story to explain what has happened to the Manchester City team, but I couldn't really think of one that made any remote bit of sense. So let's go with like a Marvel comic book type suggestion, which is the players had their training as normal. They went into the showers, but some evil mastermind had put some crap in the water and it turned them all 40 years old. Yeah, let's go with that. That's all I got, boys. I'm sorry. So basically what's happened is that I've changed the date of every player in the Manchester City team, so this is the beginning of the game, so their year of birth is 1975. So some of them are 39, about to turn 40. They've all got the same contracts. Nothing else has changed whatsoever. This includes the under-21 squad and the under-18 under-18 squad. So obviously these are going to have to be moved. So we'll see what they do with these guys. So So the aim of this is to see exactly what happens. I've disabled transfers in the first window because I want Pellegrini to have to cope with a bunch of 40-year-olds for at least 6 months of the season. The main things that are interesting for me, really, to see what happens is to see how quickly these players degrade. Because although, as we know, older players, their physical stats go down, we've only just changed this. So I've not changed their physical stats. So will their physical stats alter drastically over the course of the season to match their age? Because 40-year-old Raheem Sterling's probably going to not have that much pace. Same as Aguero, 19 acceleration. I'm not sure how that's going to last. And also, it'd be really interesting to see what sort of rebuilding job Manchester City have to do, because obviously these players, some of them are on 4-year contracts, so it's going to see who's going to retire at the end of the season. Some players are going to play on. I'm sure they're going to play on. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look. I'm going to go for the first 6 months, so I'll come back on, say, like the 1st of January, and then have a look and see what the fuck has gone on with this team just before the sort of transfer window starts, to see how many people are getting games, what's happening, how badly their values have dropped, all that good stuff. And then we'll have a look at January transfer window and then the end of the season, just to see where they finish in the league. Can you win the league with an average age of 40? We'll find out. So I'll use the magic of editing, and we'll go into the future 6 months, I think, just initially, just to see what's happened. And then we'll go a couple of years eventually, but we'll do 6 months to start with, see what happens. So join me then. Magic editing starts now. Welcome back. Right, we're now 31st of December in the first year. So we can see from the top there that Man City, bad mistake to make, are fourth in the Premier League. So they're doing obviously not as well as hoped, but they're hanging on to Champions League, which is quite impressive. Let's look at the team. What am I doing? Right, let's look at the team. So, okay, so they've got a massive amount of players in this first team. The reason being is because all their under-18s obviously been moved to the senior squad, but they're all unregistered, as you can see. So let's have a look at sort of the first team. So they've been doing all right. I think they're struggling a bit more than they would, like Sergio Aguero, 9 goals in 15. Not bad for an old man. Nobody's announced their retirement, which is interesting. I thought maybe a few of them would have instantly announced their retirement. Let's have a look at Sergio Aguero. His acceleration, I think, was 19. It's dropped a little bit, but nothing too drastic for a year. David Silva's struggling a bit. But let's have a look at somebody like Sterling. Raheem Sterling's played lots of games this season. Yeah, it's dropped by 1. So it's dropped sort of, what was that, 4 or 5 months. It's dropped a little bit, but they seem to be doing all right for themselves. I'm quite surprised. It's going to be interesting to see in January what they do, because teams aren't going to want to buy these players because they're 40 years old. And they're still going to ask for like a decent amount of money. Obviously, their values have dropped like a stone here. So it'd be interesting to see if they spend a ton of money in the January transfer window just to sort of rectify this and get some youngsters in and get some sort of pace in the team, because these are going to drop off. And also to see how many of these guys are going to announce their retirement. Obviously, all these youth players have basically been listed because they're now absolutely dreadful old players instead of good prospects. That's interesting. So I think we'll go ahead and we'll look into the future. We'll go to the end of the season, just how they finished, and see what's happened with the players and obviously the transfers. So, Magic Editing Man, do your stuff. Welcome back. And here we have end of the season Premiership table. Manchester City, with all their oldies, finished third. We're going to look at transfers, see if they brought any big name players in. They need obviously some bit of youth in the team. They've got some good tutors though, I guess. You could bring some youth talent in. And interestingly, a number of players have announced their retirement, which is to be expected, but not all of them. Aguero's not retiring. Sami Nasri, despite being transfer listed, is not retiring. David Silva retiring, but he plans to retire in 3 years' time. He's going to retire in 3 years. There's a few retiring at the end of the season. I think Joe Hart maybe was one of them. No, some of them are going to hang on for grim death. They're not giving up that easy. Let's look at the transfers. This will be quite interesting. So let's look at the players they got rid of. Zuccolini, they've got some loans out. Lots of free transfers. All those youth players basically have gone. Okay, but none of the big names have gone in the January transfer window because probably nobody would want them because they're still going to ask for big money. So these are the players that they bought in. They've spent 46 million. Let's have a look. So, the first one, we've got Michael Bradley. He's the American defensive midfielder. Really good player. 28 years old. Not exactly young. You'd think they might get a few youngsters in. The big one, obviously, Morata, who obviously gets a transfer quite a lot. Really big player for them. He's only played one game, interestingly. Rodrigo, when did he come in? Yeah, 10th of January came in. Just didn't seem to get games at all. Didn't play in the Premiership. Could have been an injury. Next up, we've got Rodrigo, 25 years old. Another striking option. Pretty decent. Okay, Adam Johnson signed back for Man City. Wasn't he at Man City? Yeah, of course he was. Okay, interestingly, Adam just must be a bit desperate, isn't it? No offence, Adam, if you're watching. I know he's a big fan. Yeah, and Brendan Galloway, really good youngster from Everton. Played 9 games, did all right. All right, let's have a look how they performed. 2 players. So Joe Hart played every game. He got the Golden Glove as well. So they've played all right. They've done all right. Let's look at some of these players and see their sort of pace dropping off. Yeah, so Aguero's down to 13 pace and 16 acceleration. So he's dropping quite quickly. Not as quickly as I thought. Is Yaya retiring? When's Yaya retiring? So he's retiring in a year. Considering manager's proposal to stay on for another year, apparently. Interesting. If random, okay. So there's quite a lot of transfer listed sort of big players now. We've got Boney's transfer listed, Sami Nasri's transfer listed. It'd be interesting to see if they can actually get rid of. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump ahead another whole year, and we'll see what sort of transfers they managed to do in the summer and then also January, and see who retired. That'd be the big ones. I think will be sort of anybody's just going to leave, or you're just going to be full of a bunch of 40-year-olds. So we've got a bunch of 41-year-olds now. Pretty much whole of the back 5 is 41 years old. That's quite impressive to finish third in the league. They've got Champions League. That's a lot of games next season. So we'll see how they get on. Join me then. Welcome back. And here we go. End of second season. And it's not been a good season for Manchester City. They finished 14th in the league. 9 points off relegation. They've had a bit of a Chelsea this season. It's to be expected. Even they can only spend so much. It'll be interesting to see what they've spent. I haven't looked at anything, so this is first time viewing. Let's have a look at transfers. So they had, obviously, the summer was going to be a massive transfer window for them. It'd be interesting to see if they got rid of any of their oldies, if they managed to sell any of them. I have no idea. So let's have a look at the right screen, preferably. So here we go. So Edin Dzeko went for 8 million. That was already sort of a done deal, wasn't it, with Roma, which was the loan move to Roma. And no, they didn't really get rid of anyone else at all. That was the first season. So this is the second season. Nothing at all. And they spent 112 million. So they decided to go kind of big on a number of players, really. But first off, we got Harry Kane for £43 million. And he did all right without being spectacular. 18 goals in 38 Premier League appearances. Scored a couple in the League Cup and the Champions League. Scored 2 in 8. Not spectacular, but he's got not much to work with, really. Next up, we've got Manuel Schmiedenbach, defensive midfielder. Never heard of him in my life. Who was mainly a sort of rotational option. 16 sub appearances, 1 assist after that. Then we've got Balanta, who's an FM legend. Probably a really good signing for them. 36 games, he was solid as a rock. Decent ratings, so he had a very good season. Only 2.3 million, just bargain. Jose Gaya, that's one of the big FM signings this year. He's absolutely ridiculously good. He got 11 assists in the league in 33 games. He had a fantastic season, so he must have really struggled somewhere. Jorge from Tenerife. Okay, interesting. Okay. So, 2.3 million. They loaned him straight out to Girona in the BBVA. I'm not sure he's really going to make it, to be honest. Next up, we've got Mario Fernandes. Almost £16 million. He was a constant in the Premier League, 36 games, only 1 assist in the Premier League. Average rating of 7.2. Ever Banega, central midfielder, 28 years old. I thought they might have gone younger, to be honest, with their purchases, but he was an ever-present in the Premier League this season. Didn't have a very good season. 2 goals, no assists. That's not very good at all for a playmaker. Then we've got Mati Fernandez, 31 years old. Wow. Okay. Another central midfielder, another sort of playmaker style player, and again, very poor. 1 goal and 3 assists in 25 starts and 7 sub appearances. That is pretty poor. And Mathieu Lutz, who's a kind of dreadful youngster. He's all right. He's not dreadful, but he's not that good. Worth a punt, I suppose. So let's actually have a look at the team. What went wrong this season? So Joe Hart still in goal. 42-year-old Joe Hart had a very, very poor season. Oh, look at his look at his physicals. Let's look at somebody that we know was decently paced. Let's look at the ages. See how many of the oldies are left. So we still got David Silva, who played 35 games. We've got Otamendi, Diallo. Otamendi played 21 games. Vincent Kompany, 31 games. Joe Hart, 41. Jack Byrne. Look at that rating. I've never seen a rating. He didn't play in the Premiership, but that is impressively bad. How do you average that? Look, he went on loan and got average 4.32. That is amazing. Yaya Toure still hanging on. Mainly is coming off the bench. Aguero, this has been the interesting one. Did well, actually. 11 goals, 18 starts, 13 sub-appearances. Oh, look at that. That hurts. Still got 13 acceleration. And he's still very balanced. Good. But apart from that, that's ugly. Samir Nasri barely got a game. De Bruyne. It seems to be their midfield really struggled this season. Yeah, horrific mentals. They've all dropped down. He's still got 10 pace. He's hanging on to double figures for grim death. And then we've got some of the youngsters that didn't get a game. Raheem Sterling, only 6 sub-appearances. He's dropped his pace to 9. Acceleration still 13. Not too bad. Boney's still there, even though he was transfer listed last season. Didn't get a game. Another bunch of youngsters. And then the rest is complete. Well, they did all right, I guess. Let's have a look at these. So they were knocked out in the quarterfinal by Arsenal. 3rd round by Stoke City. And the first round of the Champions League. They got some knockout stages. That's not too bad. But obviously they struggled hugely in the league. Their manager is now Paco Gémez. Vincent Kompany still captain. Yaya Toure. That's pretty poor. I think they're close to sort of rebuilding. I think a lot of these players are going to be retiring. Let's have a look at see when he's retiring. 4 years. So De Bruyne plans to play for another 4 years. Okay. So we'll give it one more season. We're going to have a look. Oh, I just want to say, if you've got any more other silly suggestions and crazy stuff that we can do as an experiment on the channel, give us a drop a comment, because that'd be fantastic, and then I'll give you a shout out if I use your idea. And please drop a like if you're enjoying these series. That lets me know if I should carry on with these silly crap that I'm doing. We've got a 40-year-old Manchester City team. We've got a fat Eden Hazard, and we've got a midget David De Gea. We've done so far. So yeah, sillier the better. Just to see what happens. Really, it's just kind of fun. Right, so we're going to go on 1 year and have a quick look at the final year to see if anybody's still playing football for Man City, and see what they do in the transfer window, because it's going to be a huge one. Will they replace the rest of these guys? We've got a 42-year-old David Silva playing now. Yeah, crazy. Right, I'll see you shortly. Welcome back to the final part of our experiment, and you'll see that Manchester City have qualified for the Champions League again. So after last season finishing 14th, they've actually done fantastically well and qualified for the Champions League. So they must have done some magic in the transfer window in the summer and then the January transfer window. So let's take a look at that first. I always click on the wrong bit. Hey. Right, so let's have a look at the outs. Wow. Okay, so Yaya Toure was let go on a free transfer. He's now retired. Rodrigo was sold for 3.1 million after they bought him in for 4.3. Okay, he never really got that many games. Harry Kane was sold to Dortmund for a profit, no less. 57 million. Which, considering that he's obviously went in January, so considering he wasn't ever that fantastic for them, that is a cracking deal. Matthew Ever went to Bury. Schmeinbach went for 3.7 to QPR. Made a slight loss on that, but he did okay for the little time he was there. George went on loan to Bournemouth. We won't look at these. These are probably Adam Johnson got loaned out in the least shocking move of the entire world. So they signed him from 1.2. He got 2 sub appearances, and then they loaned him out. Excellent, excellent. Let's have a look who they bought in then. So, Son Heung-min from Tottenham. Another massive signing from Tottenham. They're just giving the money at the moment. 31 million. Didn't have the best of season. Emre Can from Liverpool for only 8 million. That is a bargain and a half. And he's had a really good season. That's a ridiculous price. Matthew Ryan from Valencia. Australian international goalkeeper. Played every game in the Premier League. He was their number 1 this season. And he did okay. He did fantastic. We got Nicola Moore, who's a decent. We won't look at all the names. Serge Gnabry for 19 million pounds from Arsenal. That's a big old amount. That is. Suso from AC Milan, the ex Liverpool youngster. Not a bad little profit AC Milan have made on him. You got Dean Blackman, I don't know, that was off these players. Lewis Baker, who's a youngster from Chelsea, 8.5. So they spent a total of 144 million. They did rake in 63 million thanks to Harry Kane's sale. But that's a lot of money. So let's have a look at their senior squad. So, are any of the oldies still in the first team? Yes, they are. They've got 2. They got this guy who's now 43 years old. He's never played a game for Man City. He was one of their sort of youngsters that they got in. And this guy, Nwakili, whatever, is another youngster. Never got a game. But interestingly, so they pretty much rebuilt now, as we can see. And they've had a good season. Average ratings won't sort because computer's stupid. Okay, Balanta 7.3. Gaya on the left back 7.5. Interestingly, if you look in the under 21s, I did notice this when I was loading the game, We've still got we found all our oldies. They're hanging on in there. They're taking a nice chunky wage. One of my favourite things, because I got a note in my mail about it, because I have all the players on the shortlist that were doing it, was where is he? Where is he? You can purchase yourself a Sergio Aguero for 50 quid. He's valued at 50 quid. I think that's amazing. He's got a year left on his contract. He played a couple of sub appearances this season, nothing more. But yeah, so these are the guys. They're not retiring. They decided to retire at the end of their contract, so they're hanging on and they're taking their wage, which, you know, can't really blame them, can you? David Silva there, 43-year-old David Silva. Did he get any games this season in the Premier League? No. So here are all the rejects, the oldies, the RAP home. Most of them didn't get a game. Aguero seems to be the only one that got any sort of game time. No. Joe Hart didn't. Billy Company, did he get any time? No. Otamendi? No. So Aguero seems to be the only one that got any sort of game time this season. The rest are just seeing out there nice big fat contracts, earning their money and enjoying life. Really? So, they must be on a hell of a wage budget, because they're basically paying for 2 full teams of players, because they've got all these guys on decent money, not as high as the other one, the other lot, the B team, the old age pensioners team, but they're paying a crap ton of money. But finished in the Champions League, I think they're back on track. So there's where we'll end our experiment. I think that's been very interesting. It's interesting that the players decide to retire, but only at the end of their contracts. They don't go, look, I'm 42 years old, I'm just going to retire now, I'm not getting game time. They're like, no, I'm taking my money, I'm enjoying it. I'll enjoy my retirement fund. But it basically took 2 full seasons, probably 2.5 seasons, for Man City to get back on track after basically almost losing their team. To get back into the Champions League. I think next year there's no point of going on, because next year I think they'll increase again and they'll push for titles and stuff and back, because they'll just keep throwing money at it, as you'd expect. But it's actually been fascinating. I really enjoyed it. Please leave a like if you enjoyed it, and as I said in the last bit, leave a comment if you've got any silly ideas that you want to see come to life, and I'll see if I can get on it. I'll give you a shout out. Please subscribe if you're new and enjoying the content, and leave a like, because I need to know if you're enjoying these ones. So please leave a like if you are enjoying these videos, and then I'll do more. Simple as that. And everybody wins. Thank you very much for joining me, guys. I'll see you on the next What If episode.